Hello. You take this poem to be a poem within poems or poems within a poem. What do you think? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So tell me, audible is all right, but but what? Just 1 second. Changing the layout. Yes. So we have this. Are you listening to the background music? Hello. Please confirm. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Ha. So we have the first poem, and the poem is like this. The river sweats. The river sweats oil and tar. The river sweats oil and tar. The barges drift with the turning tide. Red sails, white. The leeward swing on the heavy spur. The barges wash, drifting logs down Greenwich reach, post the Isle of Dogs. Volailila, Volailila. This small poem echoes at least three references. Three references. The first reference is one of the celebrated poems by John Masefield, Cargoes. And the poem talks about the pollution of river. Already we have seen in the beginning of this fire sermon river being polluted, oil and tar is an added extra addition to the ongoing pollution and ongoing corruption of the river Thames or Ganga whatsoever. The second reference is to Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which again talks about this industrialization, smoke, oil, tar, and the pollution of the Congo basin. The third reference is to another opera of Richard Wagner. We have already seen one instance, Tristan and Isolde. And now this opera is titled in English, translated one, The Twilight of the Gods. The Twilight of the Gods. And this opera talks about the famous Rhine River and associated water nymphs. We already have seen the instances of nymphs in the very beginning of this movement. The nymphs departed. Remember that? So, in this opera of Wagner titled The Twilight of the Gods, there is reference to certain sea nymphs, rather, as it is river, so river nymphs of the river Rhine, Rhine, and they wail, they lament, they are wailing and lamenting over the loss of the treasure, treasure in terms of gold, which was lying buried in the deep river, but it has been stolen. It has been stolen, and somehow, as a result of that stealing, that after that stolen thing, these nymphs, river nymphs, they lament, they cry, they weep. Walalila, walalila. Try to understand the implication of first cargoes of Mesfield, second heart of darkness, and the celebrated two words, the horror, and try to understand the implication of the river nymphs as they are wailing, lamenting, mourning over the loss of the wealth due in terms of gold, and try to understand the loss of the river's resources, rivers animals, rivers plants, and rivers the power to bring about fertility, to bring about regeneration. That is all marred, destroyed by what? By the oil and tar. Ironically, ironically, the barges drift with the turning tide. Red cells, red, that can be the desire, passion, passion of sexual intercourse, or the passion to use river and its resources accumulate money. The barges wash drifting logs, Greenwich Reach, that's London, and the Isle of the Docks refers to the dockyard where the ports come and assemble and the goods and things are loaded and unloaded. So, what has been the traditional sanctity, the traditional purity, the sacredness of the river, as we have been referring to Prothalamion of Spencer, or as River Thames once upon a time must have been, and now what has become to this river? When Ganga was first flowing from the Himalayas to the plains of North India, what was the medicinal quality of the river water and what it is now? I think you understand better. What do you think? Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Please come up.
Sir, what does he refer to when he says dogs? Is he using it for humans and their degraded or
No,
animals,
no, no,
something?
no. I love the dogs. It's a dockyard. It's a place. है ना? It's a locale. Sometimes he is not too much of metaphorical in that way. I love dogs refer to what? Yes, that can be interpreted metaphorically. That's up to you. But here, I love the dogs refer to what? It refers to the place, the location, that is the dockyard where the ships, big ships, come, they stay and go. And the goods are loaded and unloaded. And in between, the river sweats. Think about this imagery. The river sweats oil and tar. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Please, anybody else? Come up. Yes. Please respond. Somebody else. At least one or two words. Yes, sir. No, sir. I want to read this again. Huh? Anybody? Nobody. Okay, then I take it for granted then. The second small poem talks about the love affair between Queen Elizabeth and Earl of Leicester, Lord Robert Dudley. Robert Dudley. And it is historically documented in the book History of England. History of England, written by Froude, Froude, written by Froude, Froude. So, this History of England talks about the Spanish ambassador Alvarez, the Spanish ambassador Alvarez, who happens to witness the love affair between Queen Elizabeth and Earl of Leicester, and he has reported all these to his own king back in Spain. The poem goes like this: Elizabeth and Leicester, beating oars. Elizabeth and Leicester beating oars. The stone was formed a gilded shell, red and gold. The brisk swell rippled both shores. Southwest wind carried down the urn. The pole of bells, white tower, Willililla, Willililla. Now, it can be interpreted in two ways: positive and negative. Positivity first. Queen Elizabeth reportedly was declared to be a virgin, sacred, chaste, as she remained unmarried, which led to the further political intricacies in England. You know it better. After her death in 1603. And as the record says that she was in affair, she was in love with Lord, Earl of Leicester, Lord Robert Dudley. But the question is positively, at least in that relationship, Queen Elizabeth was at the upper edge, as at the upper hand, as apparently she was the queen, and even if she is not the queen in that way, and if she dares to go on the river Thames while flirting with the Mr. Robert Dudley, she didn't let him do the thing. I'm emphasizing this phrase, do the thing, as we have been seeing in this fire sermon. Her sanctity and her chastity and her modesty was not taken away the way it is being taken away. It was being taken away in the 20th century and 21st century. She could maintain the distance and she could not let herself go trampled by a male. As a female, as a queen, she had certain privileges and she used them. She used those privileges. Yes, it's all her right to be of flirtative nature, to pass some quality time with the man, if not the husband, if the lover is there in that way. But the lover didn't dare, as we have seen in the case of that clerk exploring hands encountered no defense. You remember that? Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So this is the positive side. And the negative side is not too strong, as somebody might argue that look, if you are a queen and if you have declared to be a virgin physically, you must set the hard and fast example. And you must not go out with somebody, some man in the out in the river Thames, flirting and roaming. That might cast a bad impression, a bad example in that way, a bad example to the citizens of the Great Britain. I personally tend to read these lines from the first perspective because this poem is always talking about a kind of compare and contrast, the present with the past. But Eliot doesn't seem to endorse this positivity. Had he endorsed that positivity, he would not have written Walilela, Wailelala again, the lamentation and the mourning of the nymphs of river Rhine, which we have seen lamenting, mourning, and weeping for the loss of the gold, being a symbol of the resource of the river Rhine, of the river Thames, of the river Ganga, or the river that is life itself. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Third is more bleak than the first. And third says, trams and dusty trees. You can establish a strong parallel between the lines here and the life which you are going to live after the lockdown is over. So he says, trams and dusty trees, Highbury bore me. Highbury is the part of North London. North London. Highbury bore me. Richmond and Kew, small cities within London, low cities, living in squalor, dust, and poverty, undid me. Undid me. By Richmond, again, a place. By Richmond, I raised my knees. I raised my knees, supine on the floor, slipping on the back, supine on the floor of narrow canoe, small boat. My feet are at Moorgate, again underdeveloped area of London. My feet are at Moorgate, and my heart under my feet after the event. Sexual intercourse. After the event, while supine on the floor of a narrow canoe, he wept. He promised a new start in the single inverted comma, which he will never, don't worry. After the event, he wept. He promised a new start. I made no comment. In the same line, the same fashion as we have seen the woman was working on taxi throbbing machine and the man carbuncular undid her. I made no comment. What should I resent? On Margate Sands, River Thames, where Eliot stayed for a while for health. On Margate Sands, I can connect nothing with nothing. Already we have seen when the poet talks about this nothingness while giving an example of a high class society. I can connect nothing with nothing in this spiritually vast land. The broken fingernails of dirty hands, of dirty feet, of dirty intention, of dirty mind. My people, humble people who respect nothing. Lala, Wailala, Layla, Walala, Laylala, Lala. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Anybody? Yes, I connect nothing with nothing. The broken fingernails of dirty hands. My people, humble people, who expect nothing. Lala. Wailelala, Walala, Lilalala. Right? Lamentation, weeping, suffering, loss, without being conscious of the same. At least in Wagner's opera, the nymphs are conscious of their exploitation in terms of the resources which lied buried deep in the river Rhine. What about the picture in the wasteland? Compare and contrast the past with the present, and the meaning is strikingly clear. Yes, I'm waiting. बोलें? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Sir, in the second and the third poems, can we
Hmm.
like contrast in terms of class politics, as in where in the second poem, how consent is treated as a privilege because she is a queen, and in the third
Hmm.
poem, she just since she is not a queen and she's not of that privileged position, so she says, "I made no comments."
हाँ 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 बिल्कुल right. Yes, I agree with you, and I agree with your perception that Eliot was an elitist. But in both the cases, even if we don't consider the second poem positively, So Eliot doesn't seem to be happy. Even the act of affair and even the act of flirtation is not permissible. It's not allowed. It's not to be the part of the ethical life, the moral life, which one should practice, which one should do, one should live with, at least in this wasteland. So just try to understand the examples given and how the poet, while putting the river into the central position, is critiquing the modern wasteland, be it the exploitation of feminine instinct, feminine impulse that is of river, or it is the exploitation of the female itself, as we have seen more strikingly, be it Philomela, Belladonna, Lady of Rocks, Lady of Situations, Mrs. Porter, Madame Sosostris, Lil, or to a certain extent, Queen Elizabeth, they all have become the victim of exploitative forces, of exploitative desire of man. When Eliot came in touch with Bertrand Russell, Russell offered him his own apartment to live. And there Bertrand Russell stepped into sexual relationship with Eliot's own wife. The personal angst, the suffering which Eliot himself had undergone is clearly reflected here in this fire sermon. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Lala. This Lala is has another important reference. I'm quite happy. I'm not happy. I'm quite hopeful that I'm quite aware that you all must be fatigued with the references, right? Anyway, this third poem again refers back Dante and his Divine Comedy and the section Purgatorio, there Dante meets a woman, La Pia, L-A, La Pia, P-I-A, Pia, La Pia, a lady who was murdered at Marimma. I mean, just reference La Pia. And she is suffering. She is lamenting as it is purgatory, right? And in purgatory, if you're reading Byzantium, have you started doing Byzantium? No.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So Byzantium talks about what? Purgatory, right? Yes? Tell me, what have you read about Byzantium here? What do you remember in Byzantium as far as purgatory is concerned? Yes?
Sir, ma'am hasn't covered it fully, the poem. We're still reading it.
Okay, great. So I will not touch that. So Lapia, another important reference, allusion, which talks about the heightened tone of the suffering and the pain which modern Westlandian women are undergoing. Another reference. And then we have to Carthage, then I came, which I referred to and talked in the very beginning of this fire sermon, which refers to the Confessions of St. Augustine, where he says that to Carthage then I came, where the cauldron of unholy love sang all of my ears. Right? To Carthage then I came. How? Burning, 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 burning. Look at the use of alliterative sounds. Ba, 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 ba. Four times. Burning, 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 burning. Burning out of desire, out of kamana, fire. To Carthage then I came, burning, 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 burning. O Lord, I have faith in you. I have my belief in you. Thou will pluck me out. Thou will help me out. Thou will redeem me. Thou will bestow me with salvation. And thou will help me to achieve Buddhist nirvana. Otherwise, burning, 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 burning. The fire sermon. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
पूरा क्लास शांत है, मतलब कोई बात है क्या? बहुत लोग नहीं बोल रहे हैं भाई, लोगों को बोलना चाहिए नहीं? क्यों भाई? अनन्या मिश्रा टू, पिथा,
Yes, sir.
शाहिना है कि नहीं पता नहीं.
Yes, sir.
तो कुछ बोलेंगे आप लोग, कल सुनने बैठे हैं? प्रवचन चल रहा है क्या, फायर सरमन का? है?
No, sir. Sir, I am trying to understand.
अच्छा, कुछ समझ में आ रहा नहीं आ रहा
Very
है?
complex poem, sir.
हाँ सर जी, मैडम।
Sir, very complex poem.
हाँ भाई, मुझे पता है, बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स है।
Sir, too much.
हाँ, हम समझ गए आपकी भावना को। टू मच है, लेकिन क्या करें?
Yes, sir.
आई हैव बीन, आई मस्ट बी वेरी सिंपल टू यू, इजंट इट?
Yes, sir.
बोलो भाई, हिमांशी कहाँ है? हिमांशी, ओ। अच्छा, वो कहाँ है भाई? प्रियंका कुमारी कहाँ है? प्रियंका है कि नहीं, ये कोई कंफर्म करेगा? टू बी हैव हिमांशी and प्रियंका
No,
हियर?
she was there, but I think she left due to some connectivity issue.
चलो बढ़िया है, गुड, कीप इट अप। और भाई शांडिल्या,
Yes, sir.
हाउ आर यू?
Fine, sir.
समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir. It's complex, but I'm
ओके,
trying
गुड।
to.
फातिमा, फातिमा है ना? थी तो सुबह, मतलब कि घंटे पहले थी फातिमा अंसारी, चली गई?
Yes, sir,
है?
I'm here.
ओके, ग्रेट, ग्रेट। चलिए, अब सबका नाम तो नहीं लेंगे, है ना? बट आई नो इट्स कॉम्प्लेक्स पोयम, सो वेर एवर यू नीड my assistance in terms of interpretation, please feel free to ask. Okay?
Sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
हाँ हाँ।
Sir, this idea of the Isle of Dogs, I actually read the Zoo Story
हाँ
by Edward Albee,
हाँ।
and there was the idea of where they had contrasted dogs as gods. There was a place where they had talked about dogs and reversed the term as gods. So over here, sir, when they're talking about going past the Isles of Dogs, matlab, we refer to the idea of going past the Isles of Gods because of what the modern wasteland is going into. There's no idea of sacredness, no piousness, and the rivers which were once considered to be sacred, and in Indian mythology they're considered, we worship them. That idea is totally deteriorated, and there's nothing left in it. So can we link it with Edward Albee's idea of dogs and gods?
वो तो वही बात हुई जैसे कि जब वो who has written रामायण, महर्षि वाल्मीकि, राइट? तो भी
हाँ
पहले
जी
डाकू
सर।
थे, तो उनको राम बोलने नहीं आता था, तो ही वाज आस्क्ड टू से मरा मरा मरा, राइट? आपको याद होगा कहानी, है ना? तो started saying mara 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 mara, so it becomes ram in that way. Anyway, uh, you can go for interless affiliations, interless associations, uh, and even if you don't link it to the Jewish story of Edward Albee, we still have the space to use dog and God interchangeably, as we have seen in the first one, that is the burial of the dead and the importance of the dog in that way. So you can play with the words, right? I love the gods and I love the dogs. Whether God has become dog or dog has become God. नारी बीच सारी है कि सारी बीच नारी है. It's a very famous Hindi कविता. Illusion, disillusionment, godless world. And yes, we can relate it to the dog of Edward Albee. Do the dog there is used in a different context. But yes, we can make a try. We can give it a try. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now we have the smallest, thank God, thanks to Eliot. Yes, na? Should we be thankful to Eliot for writing such a small piece of writing, especially Death by Water?
Yes, sir.
Anyway, Death by Water, the smallest movement. And please bring in your memory back. The memory of water, be it the case of Kingfisher, that holy water stored in the Holy Grail and baptization and afterwards, be it the water of Holy Ganga here back in Banaras, India, or the holy water back there in England, London, River Thames, River Nile, River Rhine, and especially James George Fraser's River Nile and the Dying Gods fertility myth. Yes, those were the pearls that were his eyes. So you have to bring in all these affiliations of the word water. And as W.B. Yeats in one of his poems, which is prescribed to you, Kule Park in Balili, 931, there he says, what is water but the generated soul? Generated soul. So water has been possessing several connotations in terms of spirituality, fertility, regeneration, and all those things which we have been talking for last so many days. Death by water, be it the water of the river or be it the water of sea, both the waters, if I can pluralize it in that way, both the situations should be taken as a replica, as a symbol, as a metaphor of one's own life, of one's own life. So water in W.B. Yeats, what is water but the generated soul? Water in the case of the dying gods, leading towards the fertility, regeneration after certain days. They were Nile. Water stored in the Holy Grail, Chapel Perilous, Kingfisher, Miss Jessie Weston from Ritual to Romance. Water here, as we all go for Aquafina, Kinley, Aquaguard. Water, water everywhere, but not a single drop to drink. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
and the water in this wasteland. Drowning of Ophelia in the water, drowning of Eliot's friend Jean Bardinel, and drowning of all of us. Death by water. What is the poet saying? Let us understand in quick manner. Phlebas the Phoenician. Already we have seen the Phoenician sailor, Mr. Eugenides. So we have another name, Mr. Phlebas. It's a name, Mr. Phlebas, a Phoenician sailor, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. Plato, I think I think it's too much for today. I must not make haste. I must not believe the. I must not go by the dictum. Hurry up, it's time, please. Right? I think I should stop it here. I think right. What do you think? हेलो.
Thank you.
हाँ बस करते हैं, ज़्यादा हो जाएगा आज. ठीक है, इसको कल निपटाते हैं, है ना? ओके.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
sir.